Hello, and I want to welcome you to our Transformational Tuesday, a topic where we're going to talk about breaking the habit of being yourself. So I know there are so many of you out there, you're wanting more love, you're wanting more prosperity, you're wanting more happiness, but you keep on, life looks like Groundhog's Day, finding yourself in the same pattern, in the same relationships. And so I recently read Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and I really loved it. I love that, first of all, he's a chiropractor, and so am I. And I love his neurological basis for change. So if you haven't seen me before, I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Chu, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and transformational coach for women. And I help single successful women find the love of their lives. So let's talk about this, breaking this habit. So Dr. Joe talks about there are three main challenges or three things that you're going to need to overcome, because here's what's really interesting. He talks about it in the book, and he said by the age of 35 years old, most people have memorized their emotions, and they have a set of behaviors and emotions, and we kind of go unconscious. We get what I would call lazy brain, where we're just going through the motions. Like, do you remember when you were learning how to drive? And that, especially if it were a stick shift, there were several different things you needed to learn. But let's even talk about driving an automatic car. You know, you had to, first of all, 10 and 2 on the wheel, which my husband says that I still do. You need to look at incoming traffic. You need to look at pedestrians. You need to look at your velocity, how fast you're going. And as a kid, I can remember how overwhelming that could feel, because it was new. It was a new skill. But according to Dr. Dispenza, by the age of 35, we're in that place of just everything is a memorization based on our past experiences. And we're just on the autopilot, which is why it's like we're hypnotized to continue to create the same challenges, the same relationships, the same level of prosperity and happiness, with reading all that you want to read and experiencing many different things, but not really creating a breakthrough. So according to him, by age 35, 95% of your behaviors and feelings are unconscious and automatic. 95%. So I'll tell you right now, I'm older than 35, so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how many things have I memorized over the years? So first thing I want to talk about, as I said, is the three things you're going to need to overcome. And thank you for that thumbs up. I also love the hearts, so if you can send me love. Three things. Number one, your environment. So we tend to surround ourselves and believe that our environment is never going to change. So we need to overcome our environment. Number two is the body, the physical body. I really believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so in that belief, we are not our bodies. So as soon as we actually get lulled into the belief that we're our bodies, we're our symptoms, then we're asleep. We've lost all power to change things. And then the third thing he says that we need to learn to overcome is time, and our connection to time, our relationship to time. So first, do you remember what the first thing is? The first thing is your environment, your body, and time. And one of the greatest ways to shake all this up and start to change your relationship to your environment, your body, and time is, lean in, meditation. And meditation is something I've practiced for many, many years now. And what I loved about this book is he really explained why meditation allows for changes in the brain, changes on a cellular level, so that you can create long-term change. And so one of the things that I thought was really fascinating, he talked about the gap. And in working with women who are really looking to have, love in their lives, and they're wanting to repattern and rewire their story about love and partnership, then there's a lot of undoing that needs to happen. And so I have a new level of understanding based on this book. He talks about the gap, and I could really relate to it myself, and then also to women in my practice. And he says we have layers and layers of emotions and feelings that we memorize. And if my hand, the top hand, represents how we show up to the world on a day-to-day basis, this is kind of like, your outside person, how you show up and how you interact with others. And then we have on the bottom is your real, true self. Said differently, the highest potential of you, and as I would say, as God made you, right? So you have, I'm trying not to make too much of a gap here, right? So there's a gap. This is how you show up in the world to your friends, your family, your coworkers. And then down here is who you could be, your divine potential, your highest potential. And in between the two are all of these feelings of unworthiness, shame, guilt, anger, fear, and self-doubt. Those are the ones that he identified. And so if you have the bigger your gap, the more disconnected you're going to feel in life. And then the more like you're just memorizing these emotions, you've memorized them for many years. And yet you have this feeling of like, oh, there's so much unrealized potential in me. Like people don't see me. They don't know who I really am. I have, different desires, different values. And yet out here, you're just playing the game, just showing up to work, showing up with the same friends and never expanding your circle, having the same conversations at lunch, on break possibly. How your love life is no fun, and then everyone can chime in with their gossiping of, so the bigger the gap, the more disconnected you're going to be, and the more you're going to be in what I call sleepy brain. You're going to be asleep. What we want to do in life is, if you want, let's just talk about your love life, because that's really my specialty in helping women ignite their love life and activate their love blueprint. So here you are, as you're showing up. Here's how you could be in divine love and partnership, feeling supported. What we need to do, close the gap. Close the gap. If you close the gap, you can really step into your fullest potential. Like, who could you really be? What would be possible if there was no gap, right? I know based on my studies working and studying Wayne Dyer, Wayne Dyer, and then also Stephen Hawking, I guess it was Stephen Hawking, and he talked about the vibration of emotions. And do you know that shame is one of the lowest vibrations? I'll say that again. Shame is one of the lowest vibrations. Okay, and it being the lowest vibration, it brings us down. We don't feel, we lose all of our power. We lose all of our inner goddess that could attract a man. We flatten. We really flatten. Shame is just so detrimental, right? And that's one of the things that's standing in your way. So we want to go ahead and begin to retrain the brain to the things that, for example, used to make you feel shame. I'm not good enough, or even in the positive, maybe I'm too smart for a man, or maybe I'm too successful. In the negative, maybe he's not going to like my body, or maybe, he's not going to like the fact that, fill in the blank, I have, a bunch of kids that he might not like, or you name it. We come up with so many excuses for shame, or this isn't the body that he would be attracted to. So we need to release the shame. Shame is a really big thing that I help women to collapse that gap. So let's talk about meditation. How meditation, we can start really simple. You could, if you wanted to, you could go out and buy this book, and Dr. Joe actually has some meditations you can download. I love Insight app, which is a free app, and it's a way to teach you how to meditate. And there are other fantastic apps out there. But anyway, creating a lifestyle where you're meditating on a daily basis. And start with even just 5 minutes a day. What we want to do in closing this gap that I'm talking about, going into what's called the theta state of brain waves, which is the state that meditators learn to drop into. And it's also where you're not so on point with your body and your environment and time. You enter this spaciousness of possibility, right? As I said down here, that's true potential, true possibility of love and happiness. So when we're able to meditate, research has shown long-term meditation allows us to enter that theta waves, those theta waves more and more frequently. And in doing so, it opens up possibility, it opens up learning, it opens up change. So my call to you today is to close that gap. Let's get you more connected to who you really are, is start meditating and find a practice. It can be very simple. Joe talks about his first stage that he teaches, which I've not even done, but I've done many years of meditation, is he said it's really important to learn to overcome the body. And in doing so, it's kind of a paradox. You would think that if you want to stop thinking about the body all the time, body stuff, and thinking that you're just your body, then you wouldn't want to think about your body. And yet I'm going to encourage you in meditation. You can use a meditation where you start at the top of your head and you just use your mind and engage your mind and breathe deeply and move down your body. Down, down, down. From the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And just feel what you feel. And when the mind starts to track elsewhere, come back to the body. I know this is also very true for Vipassana as a style of meditation, which is actually really hardcore. I've got some friends who practice this, and they really talk about the body and overcoming sensations in the body, learning that you're not your body. Okay? So again, starting to close the gap. Dr. Joe talks about that in the beginning stages in learning meditation. He calls it induction time, where you're really connecting deeply with your body. So if you want to try his technique, you can check out his book, and then you can download his induction technique. You can also find a lot of fantastic free meditations online. So we talked about the gap and what it is. We talked about what's in the sandwich of the gap that's really holding you up in life and causing you to just blank out and be in kind of like, the driving metaphor that I gave. Like right now, if you ask me, what does it take to drive? I'd say, well, you get your keys and you jump in the car, maybe you unlock it, you turn the ignition, and you go. Like 3 steps, okay? But what if you were talking to a 16-year-old who's learning how to drive and say, how do you drive? Well, they're like, well, I've got to keep my eyes on the road, and, I need to make sure that there's no one in the crosswalk, and I need to keep my distance. They've got like 15 things that are running in their mind. It's not just a 3-step process. It might be like 10 steps, okay? Automatic. Driving, 3 steps for me, boom, I don't even think about it, and we tend to be able to multitask. My whole point is it's automation, okay? You have memorized your traumatic love stories. You've memorized maybe being disappointed in men. You've memorized what it feels like to be maybe hurt by men. These are all memorizations, right? And yet, right here, right now, chances are you're okay. You're okay. You're not taking on physical or emotional trauma. You're listening to me. And in this moment, if you take a breath, you're okay. And in being okay, you start to connect to what's possible for you. Okay, so we talked about the gap. We talked about the 3 things you're going to need to overcome. Remember what they are. You're going to need to overcome the environment, your body, and your relationship to time. Okay? We don't have time today to go through all those, right? I mean, Joe wrote this book that's like a couple 100 pages long that scratches the surface of it. It's a journey. It's a journey to break the habit of being yourself. All right? So we talked about the gap. We talked about the 3 things. And then finally, I want to also tell you, for me, in helping me merge this, how I show up in the world with who I really am, I'm doing the best that I can. But even I have stuff, right? We're all vulnerable. I'm here on Tuesday afternoons putting myself out there, and you know, I make mistakes, I say silly things, but I just put it out there, right? I'm willing to be vulnerable and human. All right. So the third thing I said to the community that's been following me, the third thing I talk about is a key that I use every single morning. So first thing I do is I meditate every morning. Okay. Helps me get into that place of possibility, helps me to break the habit of being me. Because when I say that, and what a great title, right? It's the habitual patterns that aren't serving me anymore. So we go from being unconscious and asleep in these habitual patterns to awake and in a place where we can powerfully choose our lives, where we can powerfully choose where we're going to focus our minds, where we're going to powerfully choose our love life. Okay. So the third thing is just a little thing that I do every morning, and that is visualization. I visualize my future that I'm intending as if it were happening right here, right now. And I flood my body with the feelings. How is it going to feel when? And I fill in the gap. Like for me, and this is more in alignment of prosperity, how's it going to feel when I'm able to write the check and pay off my mortgage? And so I visualize my writing of the check and me and my family holding hands and walking down to our local bank and having my daughter hand over the check, and we celebrate, right? That was one of the things I thought of or have been thinking of, and I just act as if, because the brain really doesn't know the difference. That's how we start to collapse time, right? The future, the things we show up in our minds and we use visualization, it really doesn't know much of a difference between the future you intend and practice versus right here, right now. The key is the emotions. Give yourself the gift of the emotions now. All right. So we had 3 big things that we covered here today. We want to quickly review. Number 1 is we talked about the gap. How you show up in the world, how you talk to your friends, your loved ones, your co-workers, the amount of exercise you get, the type of food you eat, whether you drink alcohol or not drink alcohol, like all of that you show the world is you on the outside. And then on the inside is the potential of who you can become. And in between that sandwich, the gap is shame, self-doubt, unworthiness, guilt, anger. And so today, I hope that you're one step closer to closing that gap, because life is easier when you can just be who you are and who you're meant to be. Number 2, you're going to need to overcome your body. You're not your body. You're not your symptoms. Okay? You're a spiritual being having a human experience. Number 2, your environment. The environment is, you know, what's around you, who's around you, your daily environment. And then number 3, time. Your relationship to time. Time is right here. Okay? Look at the animals, right? If I go outside and ask a squirrel, what time is it? I know I'm being really goofy, but truly time is a human thought form, right? I mean, think about it. Wherever you are, wherever you're listening in, and we have women listening from all over the world, like, what time is it? You look at your watch, oh, let's see, I don't have my watch on, but I can look right here and it's 4:51 Mountain Time. But where are you listening in from, right? Maybe it's 4 o'clock in the morning, right? Time is in the mind, and we create an emotion around that time, okay? So overcome your environment, overcome your body, overcome time, game changer, and start a meditation practice today. No more, I'm not good at it, right? I can't do that. Just start simply, 5 minutes a day, and build upon that. I want so much for you to have all the love, all the peace, all the prosperity. I want you to have divine partnership and to give yourself enough time in the day. You have 5 minutes. Everybody has 5 minutes. And if you don't, you can't ignore the 5 minutes that you're going to make in time in collapsing that gap. All right. So if you like what you saw today, please be sure to like this, love this, give us a little comment, love. And again, I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Chu, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and transformational coach for women. And I love empowering single successful women to create the lifelong love they desire. Thanks again. Till next Tuesday, Transformational Tuesday, signing off.